So how did the multimodality trials change the practice in this field? My disclosures. The question, multimodality management is now the standard of care. Chemotherapy and surgery can be combined for both resectable and unresectable metastases at presentation. So what did we learn from the clinical trials available? So first, we start with the resectable metastases. For these patients, surgery is the standard of care. This was never demonstrated by any trial, but only by retrospective data registries, and still we know that 5-year overall survival is plus or minus 35%. We have trials, again, in resectable metastases that have looked at the effect of combined treatments. Again, in this field, we have very few trials. Adjuvant chemotherapy was explored with a pooled analysis of 2 5-FU studies, FOLFIRI compared to 5-FU. Then we have the study on perioperative chemotherapy. This is the VERTICIS study. And studies looking at if there was a benefit of adding targeted agents. This is the survival curve of the pooled analysis of the 2 5-FU studies, which shows a trend toward the benefit of combining postoperative 5-FU to surgery. And the EORTC study administered FOLFOX before and after resection and showed PFS for the primary endpoint and showed 8% absolute benefit in the patients receiving chemotherapy. However, the study was not powered to show a benefit in overall survival, and the 5-year benefit of 4% was not significant due to the size of the study. So the results, perioperative FOLFOX reduced the risk of cancer relapse after surgery by 1/4. Now, what about the combination with targeted agents? The first trial which attempted to answer this question was run in the UK and named the New Epoch trial. Patients with resectable metastases were randomized between chemo only or chemo with cetuximab. Chemo was mainly FOLFOX, Oxylox, or FOLFIRI. The primary endpoint was PFS. The PFS survival curves are displayed here. Arm A, chemo only, and Arm B, chemo plus cetuximab, which obviously is under the chemo only arm. Then the authors interpreted this data saying that PFS administration of cetuximab results in shorter progression-free survival, and that at present the use of cetuximab in this setting cannot be recommended, and they even add that it's likely that no other targeted agents will do better. There was some debate of whether this was could be concluded like that, and if the data really supported the conclusions. The editors of the Journal of Clinical Oncology invited Dr. Goldberg, Dr. Poston, and myself to write an editorial in which we reanalyzed in detail the data from the New Epoch study and tried to answer the question, should the results of the New Epoch change practice in the management? This was a scientific analysis, but resulted in a very passionate answer from the first author, which was published earlier this month. You can look in the journal if you're interested. And we responded to this answer, just controlling that all our statements were correct. Basically, we acknowledge that organizing trials in this field is very difficult, and the authors should be commended for achieving this task. But there were problems in this trial. First, it's an intermediate analysis. 236 only of 257 patients were analyzed. Then there are some concerns with the control of quality assurance of surgery. All the patients should have been resectable with a margin of 1 centimeter or more, and then it appears that 40% of the patients had a margin of less than 1 centimeter. No margin at all, R1 resection, was seen more often in the cetuximab arm than in the no cetuximab arm, which was clearly in disfavor of the cetuximab arm. And also unresected patients, although they were supposed to be resected, was observed more often in the cetuximab arm, 24%, than in the no cetuximab arm. In addition, some patients had CAPOX, and at that time only KRAS was evaluated. So we thought that the conclusion that made by the authors were not supported by the data, and that we needed other studies to know if there was any benefit of adding cetuximab to chemotherapy in this indication. The EORTC BOS2 study tries to answer this question. It has 3 arms. The control arm is FOLFOX before and after surgery. First experimental arm is FOLFOX with an EGFR blocker panitumumab, and the third is FOLFOX plus bevacizumab. So hopefully this trial should answer the question of whether there's an indication to use targeted agents in this field. So the lessons from clinical trials in resectable metastasis: palliative FOLFOX4 reduced the risk of cancer relapse. Postoperative chemotherapy can be an option for patients who did not receive the preoperative treatment, and the benefit of targeted agents is not yet demonstrated, so they should not be used except in clinical trials. So now we move to the second field, which are the patients with initially unresectable metastases. We know that some of these metastases can become resectable after response to chemotherapy with a hope for cure, and this has raised a lot of interest, but it's not true in all patients. The concept is simple, but practice covers very heterogeneous situations and makes it very difficult to incorporate this as an endpoint in clinical trials. For instance, this is an easy situation. On the left, I cannot show you. On the left, you have a big metastasis that is not resectable because it's too close from the portal vein bifurcation. On the right, you see it has shrank, and then it's easy to resect. This is ideal situation, very easy to understand. This is the case before chemo, after resection. Now, this is also easy. 2 big ones, you cannot take out the right part and the left part of the liver at the same time. It becomes resectable, then you can do right lobectomy and wedge resection. But what about this? After chemo, you don't see all the small nodules. Now, many of these patients are resected. This is, I would say, debulking, but how do you consider this? And you can understand that the risk of relapse can be high after this kind of situation. So the lessons from clinical trials: resection is not an endpoint or a very secondary endpoint in most trials. It's mostly dependent upon the availability of liver surgeons in the participating institutions, and maybe the comparison between treatment arms is more informative than the absolute rates of resection. But I think it's more objective to rely on the response to chemotherapy and the response rate, which we know is correlated with resection rate. So rapidly, we don't have to look at all the data. I just want to go through rapidly recently published trials, and you just look. Unfortunately, my pointer is not working. You just look in the red frame, and we'll just look at response rate and resection. Okay, first FOLFOXIRI triple combination with or without bevacizumab, and it's too bad this doesn't work. You see that the response rate is increased when FOLFOXIRI is compared to FOLFIRI, when FOLFOXIRI with bevacizumab is compared to FOLFIRI with bevacizumab, or when FOLFOXIRI plus bevacizumab is compared to FOLFOX with bevacizumab. So these are good regimens to use to render metastasis resectable. Then on the right, the resection rates are statistically increased in the GONO study and in the Olivia study. Again, it's difficult to look at the absolute values. The trials with cetuximab, again, not taking care of the primary endpoints. The two first ones, Crystal and Opus, are positive for the primary endpoint. The two last ones are negative. But if we look on the response rate, in all these studies, the arm with cetuximab have a higher response rate than the arm with chemotherapy only. And this is in patients with KRAS wild type, exon 2. Now, the SELIM trial was a phase 2 trial, which showed a very high resection rate of 33%, but included not only patients with not resectable metastasis at presentation, but also patients with 5 metastases. The response rate in this trial was 79%. It compared cetuximab with FOLFOX or FOLFIRI. This is a Chinese phase 3 study for which the endpoints were resection and response, comparing FOLFOX or FOLFIRI with or without cetuximab. And you see that the results where the response rate was almost doubled with the combination of cetuximab, and the resection rate was much higher with the addition of cetuximab, and this, of course, was in KRAS exon 2 wild-type patients. The PRIME study, again, you just look at the red frame with the evaluation of the subgroup of patients with wild-type RAS, and again, the response rate is higher when panitumumab was combined with FOLFOX, 59 as compared to 46 with FOLFOX only. And in these patients, the survival rate after complete resection was high, 85% at 4 years. Now with bevacizumab, for the first trials, the data are less obvious. The study comparing FOLFOX or XELOX with or without bevacizumab did not show a difference in the response rate. The study comparing IFL with or without bevacizumab showed an important improvement in response rate. The VELO study is a study second line, so it's more difficult to look for the response rate and the resection rates, looking for the benefit of aflibercept combined with FOLFIRI, and again, the response rate was higher in the aflibercept arm than in the other one. The absolute resection rate was very low. Again, this is second line, and it's likely that most of the institutions did not look for surgery. Now, what about the head-to-head trials? The CLGB trial, the FIRE3 trial, and the PEAK trial, which all compared bevacizumab and chemotherapy to chemotherapy and EGFR blockers. Again, you please look only at the right frame, and the CLGB trial in black, you see wild-type RAS, and in red, all RAS, and there was an improvement, higher response rate with cetuximab combined to FOLFOX or FOLFIRI than bevacizumab, and same thing with the all RAS. For the FIRE3 study, the response rate with administration of cetuximab was higher, although not significant, than with bevacizumab, and in the PEAK study, it was similarly higher with panitumumab than with bevacizumab, but this was not statistically significant. So in summary about these three head-to-head studies, from our perspective of rendering the metastasis resectable, outcomes were quite similar between arms, but patients with wild-type RAS were likelier to have curative liver surgery with anti-EGFR containing regimen. Finally, the SURFLOX, which was updated at this meeting, the overall response rate in the arm with SIRT was higher, 78% as compared to 68%, and this was significant. And the PFS in the liver was also higher. The resection rate were similar, but again, resection was not have been feasible in all institutions. Finally, a note of caution. The risk of relapse after resection is high. This is from the GONO study. 2 years after resection of metastases which have become R0 resectable, 80% of patients have cancer relapse. So clearly, this is not the end of the story, and these patients must be followed up. So in summary, the treatment of metastatic colorectal cancer, important progress have been made. Multimodality management should be discussed in all patients with liver metastasis. Practice is influenced by the results of clinical trials, but unfortunately we have only a few trials which incorporate resection as an endpoint, so it's also influenced by retrospective data, expert opinion, and marketing. Thank you for listening to me.